Timothée Chalamet's birthday this year is not just another celebrity celebration. It has quietly transformed into a global spotlight moment, reigniting one powerful question that refuses to fade: is Kylie Jenner still by Timothée Chalamet's side? The answer doesn't come from official statements or carefully staged interviews, but from subtle details that speak louder than any headline. Before we go deeper, make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because what you're about to hear reveals layers of a Hollywood relationship many thought was on the brink. In the ever-turning world of entertainment news, Timothée Chalamet's birthday has always drawn attention. As one of the most influential actors of his generation, every personal milestone becomes public property. But this year feels different. There's no over-the-top spectacle dominating the conversation. Instead, what's capturing global curiosity is Kylie Jenner's presence, quiet, controlled, and yet impossible to ignore. For months, rumors about Kylie Jenner and Timothée Chalamet's relationship have dominated celebrity news cycles. Whispers of distance, alleged cooling chemistry, and claims of a possible breakup spread rapidly across social media and entertainment blogs. The absence of public appearances together fueled speculation, with fans and critics dissecting every move, every silence, as potential proof that the relationship had ended. Then came Timothée Chalamet's birthday, and suddenly, the narrative shifted. According to sources close to the situation, Kylie Jenner marked Timothy's birthday in a deeply personal way, offering support and attention that went far beyond a simple public gesture. There were no loud announcements, no staged photo opportunities. Instead, there was consistency, presence, and intention. In Hollywood, where silence can be louder than words, Kylie Jenner's quiet involvement sent a clear message: she is still there. As the day unfolded, attention sharpened. Fans began noticing patterns: who was present, who wasn't, and how Timothy's inner circle aligned. Kylie Jenner's name resurfaced, not as speculation, but as part of the actor's closest orbit. In a celebrity culture driven by visibility, this kind of subtle confirmation carries immense weight. The tempo of the story changes here. Because this isn't just about whether Kylie and Timothée are still together, it's about how they're choosing to define their relationship. Kylie Jenner, one of the most powerful figures in modern media, opted for restraint. No dramatic posts. No cryptic captions. Just a deliberate choice to keep something meaningful private. And paradoxically, that restraint made the message even stronger. Midway through this unfolding story, one question became unavoidable: why does this birthday matter so much? The answer lies in timing. After months of relentless rumors, this moment became a crossroads. Would Kylie step back completely, allowing speculation to grow? Or would she quietly reaffirm her place in Timothy's life? Every sign pointed to the latter. Entertainment industry observers were quick to notice that this wasn't accidental. In celebrity dynamics, every move contributes to a broader narrative. By standing with Timothée during a personal milestone, Kylie Jenner effectively disrupted the breakup storyline without saying a single word. This wasn't damage control, it was authenticity. The tension builds as comparisons emerge with past milestones. Patterns become clearer. Consistent support. Controlled privacy. A shared decision to move forward without feeding the rumor machine. Rather than fading, the relationship appears to be evolving, away from spectacle and towards something more grounded. And here is the payoff. Timothée Chalamet's birthday now stands as more than a celebration of age. It becomes a symbol. A quiet confirmation that amid relentless public scrutiny, Kylie Jenner remains a steady presence in his life. Not for attention. Not for headlines. But because that's where she chooses to be. The conclusion is simple, yet powerful. Not every Hollywood relationship needs grand declarations. Sometimes, showing up, especially when cameras aren't demanded, is the strongest proof of all. Timothée Chalamet's birthday has delivered exactly that: silent evidence that Kylie Jenner is still by his side. Now, the conversation returns to the audience. Will the public continue to chase rumors, or finally accept that some celebrity relationships are intentionally lived away from constant validation? One thing is certain, this birthday spoke louder than months of speculation. If you want to stay updated on the latest developments surrounding Kylie Jenner and Timothée Chalamet, including deeper analysis and behind-the-scenes insights you won't find elsewhere. Stay with us. Like this story if it changed your perspective, share it with fellow pop culture fans, and leave your thoughts in the comments. Do you see this as proof their bond is stronger than ever, or the beginning of a new, more private chapter? Keep watching, because this story is far from over. And just when many believed the story had reached its conclusion, new layers continued to unfold, quietly, deliberately, and in a way that only intensified public curiosity. Because in the days following Timothée Chalamet's birthday, the aftershocks were impossible to ignore. Conversations online didn't fade, they multiplied. Search trends spiked. Fan theories evolved. And once again, Kylie Jenner's name remained firmly tied to the narrative, refusing to disappear from the equation. What makes this moment especially compelling is not what was shown, but what was withheld. In an era where celebrity relationships are often sustained by constant visibility, Kylie and Timothee appear to be doing the opposite. This strategic absence from spectacle has only deepened interest. Analysts of pop culture note that restraint itself has become a form of communication, one that signals confidence rather than uncertainty. Insiders suggest that the bond between Kylie Jenner and Timothée Chalamet has entered a more protected phase. No longer driven by novelty or public fascination, the relationship appears anchored in mutual understanding. Timothee, known for guarding his personal life, has long expressed discomfort with excessive exposure. Kylie, despite her global influence, seems increasingly aligned with that approach. Their choices feel synchronized, and that alignment is precisely what fans are picking up on. As attention zooms in, subtle details continue to surface. Scheduling overlaps. Shared inner circles. Familiar patterns that longtime followers recognize instantly. None of these elements scream for attention, yet together they form a coherent picture. This isn't a relationship fading out, it's one recalibrating its boundaries. The story takes another turn when entertainment commentators begin reframing the narrative. Instead of asking whether Kylie and Timothee are still together, the question shifts to why they are choosing silence. And the answer may lie in control. Control over narrative. Control over privacy. Control over what truly matters to them, rather than what satisfies public demand. Momentum builds as comparisons are drawn to other high-profile Hollywood couples who collapsed under the weight of constant exposure. In contrast, Kylie Jenner and Timothée Chalamet appear to be learning from those cautionary tales. By keeping milestones understated and moments intimate, they may be building something more durable, something that doesn't rely on validation from headlines. This shift changes how the birthday itself is interpreted. It's no longer just proof of presence, it's evidence of intention. Intention to stay connected without performance. Intention to show support without spectacle. Intention to protect what exists behind closed doors. And that intention resonates more strongly than any public declaration ever could. As the narrative slows momentarily, tension doesn't disappear, it transforms. The silence becomes louder. Every future appearance, every public absence, now carries amplified meaning. Fans are watching more closely, not for dramatic reveals, but for continuity. For consistency. For signs that what was quietly confirmed during Timothée Chalamet's birthday continues beyond it. And then comes the realization that reframes everything. This story isn't about proving anyone wrong. It's about redefining how celebrity relationships are understood in a media-saturated age. Kylie Jenner's support during Timothee's birthday wasn't a rebuttal to rumors, it was a statement of values. A reminder that real connection doesn't need constant explanation. The emotional payoff settles in here. Because for all the speculation, what remains is something surprisingly grounded. Two global figures navigating fame on their own terms. Choosing discretion over drama. Presence over performance. And in doing so, creating a narrative that feels more authentic than anything staged could offer. As the final echoes of Timothée Chalamet's birthday ripple outward, one truth becomes increasingly difficult to deny. Kylie Jenner is not orbiting his life by coincidence. She is there by choice. A choice reinforced not through words, but through timing, consistency, and silence. Now, attention turns forward. What happens next doesn't require prediction, it requires patience. Because if this relationship has taught the public anything, it's that not all answers arrive loudly. Some unfold slowly, revealed only to those paying close attention, and as this chapter closes, one last question lingers in the air, refusing to settle. In a world obsessed with exposure, could privacy itself be the strongest proof of love? Stay tuned, stay curious, and stay connected, because when Kylie Jenner and Timothée Chalamet choose to speak again, whether through presence or absence, the world will be listening. The story, however, still refuses to settle. Because the more silence surrounds Kylie Jenner and Timothée Chalamet, the louder the implications become. After the birthday moment passed, the industry didn't move on, it leaned in. Media outlets began revisiting old timelines, resurfacing early sightings, analyzing how this relationship has consistently defied traditional Hollywood patterns from the very beginning. From the first whispers linking Kylie Jenner to Timothée Chalamet, skepticism dominated the conversation. Many questioned compatibility. Others dismissed it as temporary. Yet time after time, the relationship has resurfaced not through dramatic announcements, but through quiet consistency. Timothee's birthday only reinforced what insiders have quietly suggested for months. This is not a fleeting chapter, but a deliberately protected one. What stands out now is how both figures appear more intentional than ever. Timothée Chalamet, entering a new phase of his career with increasingly complex roles and global recognition, seems to value stability away from the cameras. Kylie Jenner, navigating motherhood, business empires, and public scrutiny, has also shifted toward a more selective form of visibility. Their priorities appear to intersect in ways that weren't obvious at first glance, but now seem unmistakable. As attention deepens, the narrative subtly pivots from romance to strategy. Not in a calculated sense, but in survival. Hollywood history is crowded with relationships undone by overexposure. Kylie and Timothee seem acutely aware of that reality. By choosing understatement, they remove oxygen from rumors rather than feeding them. And paradoxically, this restraint is exactly what keeps the public watching. Another layer emerges when considering the emotional timing of the birthday itself. Birthdays are personal milestones, moments where presence matters more than performance. Kylie Jenner's decision to remain close during this time speaks volumes about trust and emotional alignment. It suggests a relationship that operates beyond optics, one grounded in real-life connection rather than public validation. The tension rises again when observers note how neither party felt compelled to correct the media narrative afterward. No follow-up appearances. No clarifying interviews. This absence of damage control suggests there was nothing to repair. The message had already been delivered, not to tabloids, but to each other. At this point, the conversation surrounding Kylie Jenner and Timothée Chalamet begins to mature. Fans are no longer just asking if they're together. They're asking how. How do two of the most scrutinized figures on the planet maintain something real? How do they draw boundaries without issuing ultimatums to the public? And how long can this balance last? Momentum builds as cultural commentators frame this relationship as a case study in modern celebrity intimacy. Less performative. Less reactive. More intentional. In that context, Timothée Chalamet's birthday becomes a reference point, a moment where speculation peaked, only to be quietly dismantled by presence rather than proclamation. And then comes another subtle shift. Public perception begins to soften. What was once met with disbelief now feels plausible. Even expected. Because consistency, over time, reshapes narratives more effectively than any headline ever could. Kylie Jenner's continued proximity, without spectacle, normalizes the idea that she is simply part of Timothee's life. The emotional payoff deepens here. Because beneath the fame, the branding, and the endless commentary, this begins to look less like a celebrity storyline and more like a human one. Two individuals choosing to prioritize what feels real over what feels profitable. Choosing each other, quietly, in a space where quiet is rare. As the story stretches forward, anticipation doesn't rely on revelation anymore. It relies on continuity. The audience watches not for shock, but for confirmation that what was implied continues to exist. And every small alignment, every shared silence, adds another layer of credibility. Timothée Chalamet's birthday, once again, circles back into focus. Not as a singular event, but as a marker in a longer timeline. A moment that clarified more than it announced. A moment that showed how presence, when intentional, can dismantle months of doubt. Now, the final stretch settles in, not with closure, but with understanding. Kylie Jenner doesn't need to stand in front of cameras to prove loyalty. Timothée Chalamet doesn't need to explain his private life to justify it. The story stands on its own, built from patterns rather than promises, and so, the narrative holds its ground. Not loud. Not dramatic. But undeniably firm. In a culture addicted to immediacy, this relationship unfolds at its own pace. And that may be its greatest strength. As the audience leans back, one realization remains clear: the absence of spectacle was never a sign of distance. It was the sign of something being protected. And even now, the narrative continues to expand rather than conclude. Because what happened around Timothée Chalamet's birthday didn't close a chapter, it quietly opened a longer one. The kind of chapter that doesn't rely on dramatic twists, but on accumulation. On repeated signals that, when viewed together, become impossible to ignore. In the weeks following the birthday, industry insiders began reframing the conversation entirely. The focus was no longer on "are they still together," but on how firmly this relationship seems insulated from external noise. Kylie Jenner's approach has been especially telling. Once known for sharing pivotal moments publicly, she has increasingly chosen discretion. This evolution hasn't gone unnoticed. To many observers, it signals maturity, not retreat. Timothée Chalamet, meanwhile, appears to be entering a defining era of his career. With larger roles, heavier expectations, and a growing global footprint, stability away from the spotlight has become more valuable than ever. Those close to him suggest that emotional grounding plays a critical role in his current trajectory. And once again, Kylie Jenner's presence, quiet but consistent, fits seamlessly into that picture. As public curiosity intensifies, the lack of contradiction becomes its own confirmation. No denials. No corrections. No sources close to narratives pushing separation. In the hyperreactive ecosystem of celebrity media, that silence is rare. And rare things draw attention. Another pattern begins to emerge when fans revisit previous moments in their timeline. Similar milestones. Similar restraint. Similar choices to keep celebrations and support away from mass consumption. What once seemed confusing now appears intentional. The relationship hasn't been hiding, it's been filtering. This realization adds a new layer of tension, not from uncertainty, but from anticipation. Because when two public figures choose privacy so deliberately, every small detail gains weight. Every alignment matters. Every shared absence becomes meaningful. And the audience, knowingly or not, adjusts its expectations. The story slows down here, but that slowdown is strategic. It forces a shift in how it's consumed. Less scrolling. More observing. Less speculation. More interpretation. Timothée Chalamet's birthday becomes the reference point for this shift, the moment where the noise peaked, and clarity quietly followed. Emotionally, this is where the payoff deepens. Because beneath the celebrity status, what's being revealed is a dynamic built on mutual respect. Kylie Jenner doesn't overshadow. Timothée Chalamet doesn't perform. They coexist in a way that feels deliberately unmarketable, and therefore more believable. Cultural commentators begin drawing parallels to a broader trend, a new generation of celebrities redefining visibility. Where oversharing once equaled relevance, now restraint signals competence. In that context, Kylie and Timothee don't appear distant, they appear aligned with the moment. As time moves forward, the question subtly transforms again. Not will they go public, but will they ever need to? Because the relationship no longer depends on validation. It exists independently of audience approval. And that independence is what gives it durability. The birthday, once more, returns to the center of the story. Not as an isolated act, but as a confirmation point. A moment where presence spoke louder than explanation. Where consistency replaced clarification. Where support didn't need an audience to be real, and so the narrative holds steady, resisting the urge to escalate artificially. There's no forced climax, because the climax already happened quietly, when speculation collided with reality and lost momentum. What remains now is continuation. As viewers, listeners, and readers lean in, one truth becomes clearer with each passing day. Kylie Jenner is not part of Timothée Chalamet's life by coincidence, convenience, or optics. She is there by choice. And that choice has been reaffirmed not once, but repeatedly. The story doesn't end with a declaration. It ends with understanding. Understanding that some relationships aren't meant to be decoded instantly. They reveal themselves over time, through patterns, through silence, through moments like a birthday that seems simple, but change everything. And as this chapter fades into the next, curiosity doesn't disappear. It matures. It waits. Because when the next sign appears, whether loud or quiet, it will carry the weight of everything that came before it. Stay watching. Stay listening. Because this story isn't driven by shock value. It's driven by consistency. And consistency, in the end, is the strongest proof of all. Yet even with all these layers uncovered, the story continues to stretch forward, refusing to crystallize into something easily summarized. Because the real intrigue surrounding Kylie Jenner and Timothée Chalamet is not rooted in dramatic revelation, but in endurance. In how, moment after moment, their connection continues to withstand the relentless pressure of public expectation. As time passes, what becomes increasingly evident is how deliberately both figures are shaping their public narratives. Kylie Jenner, whose life has long been defined by visibility, appears to be rewriting the rules of her own exposure. Her silence is no longer interpreted as absence, but as intention. For someone whose every move once generated headlines, choosing restraint is itself a powerful signal. Timothée Chalamet mirrors this approach. Known for his introspective personality and selective engagement with fame, he has consistently avoided turning his personal life into a spectacle. Those close to him describe a growing desire for balance, between ambition and grounding, between global recognition and emotional safety. Within that balance, Kylie Jenner's presence feels less like a headline and more like a constant. The narrative tension evolves again as audiences begin to notice how naturally this relationship resists categorization. It is neither aggressively public nor suspiciously hidden. It exists in a gray space that challenges how celebrity relationships are usually consumed. And that challenge is precisely what keeps attention locked in. Observers within the entertainment industry suggest that this dynamic may be the result of shared lessons learned the hard way. Both Kylie and Timothee have lived under extreme scrutiny from a young age. Both understand how quickly perception can distort reality. In choosing to limit access, they aren't withdrawing, they are protecting. Timothée Chalamet's birthday remains a key reference point in this evolving story because it marked a moment where speculation reached its peak and quietly lost credibility. The expected drama never arrived. Instead, what emerged was a calm consistency that contradicted months of rumor-driven narratives. And once credibility shifts, it rarely shifts back. As the weeks unfold, public reaction subtly changes tone. Skepticism gives way to acceptance. Shock gives way to curiosity. The audience begins to view the relationship not as an anomaly, but as an example of something increasingly rare in celebrity culture: intentional privacy. This shift matters. Because once the narrative frame changes, every future moment is interpreted differently. Silence is no longer alarming. Distance is no longer assumed. The relationship stops being measured by appearances and starts being understood through continuity. Emotionally, this is where the story settles into its most compelling form. Not as a question demanding answers, but as a portrait taking shape slowly. Kylie Jenner and Timothée Chalamet appear less concerned with convincing anyone of anything. Their actions suggest confidence, not in public approval, but in their own understanding of what they share. The absence of performative affection becomes meaningful. The lack of denial becomes reassuring. The refusal to over-explain becomes a quiet assertion of autonomy. In a media environment driven by immediacy, this slow-burn narrative feels almost radical, and still, Timothee's birthday echoes in the background, not loudly, but persistently. It stands as a reminder of how a single, understated moment can realign months of speculation. How presence, when genuine, can dissolve doubt without confrontation. As the story continues forward, there is no urgency to resolve it. No need for confirmation or closure. The relationship, as it exists now, appears to operate outside the traditional arc of celebrity storytelling. It doesn't build toward a reveal. It simply continues. That continuity becomes the final, enduring tension. Because as long as Kylie Jenner remains quietly connected to Timothée Chalamet's life, the story resists ending. It evolves instead, subtly, patiently, and on their terms, and perhaps that is the ultimate takeaway. In a culture obsessed with visibility, the most powerful statement may be choosing not to perform. In an industry built on noise, the strongest signal may be silence. Timothée Chalamet's birthday was never about celebration alone. It became a moment of clarity, a pause in the speculation, a reminder that not all truths arrive with fanfare. As the audience waits for what comes next, one thing remains steady. This is not a story unraveling. It is a story holding its shape, and as long as it does, the world will keep watching, not for spectacle, but for signs of something real continuing to exist, quietly, just out of reach of the spotlight. And still, the narrative stretches forward, refusing to collapse into a simple conclusion. Because what keeps this story alive is not uncertainty, but restraint. The kind of restraint that feels intentional, measured, and increasingly rare in the ecosystem of modern celebrity culture. As days turn into weeks, the post-birthday atmosphere surrounding Timothée Chalamet subtly solidifies a new reality. The conversation no longer revolves around sudden appearances or dramatic confirmations. Instead, it centers on continuity. On how nothing contradicted what was quietly shown during that birthday moment. No abrupt shifts. No visible distancing. Just a steady rhythm that suggests alignment rather than confusion. Kylie Jenner's role in this ongoing narrative remains particularly compelling. Public perception once framed her as someone inseparable from visibility, from constant updates, from strategic exposure. Yet what unfolds now tells a different story. A story of recalibration. Of choosing when to be seen and, more importantly, when not to be. That shift alone has altered how her actions are interpreted. Silence, once read as retreat, is now read as confidence. Timothée Chalamet, on the other hand, continues to embody a form of celebrity that resists saturation. His career choices, public appearances, and personal boundaries all point toward the same direction: control without confrontation. Those familiar with his inner circle describe a growing emphasis on protecting emotional space, especially as professional demands intensify. Within that protected space, Kylie Jenner's presence appears neither disruptive nor performative. It appears natural. This is where the tension evolves yet again. Not because something threatens to break, but because something continues to hold. In storytelling terms, this is the rare moment where stability becomes the suspense. The audience keeps watching not for collapse, but for confirmation that endurance is possible under extreme scrutiny. Media analysts begin to describe this relationship using a new vocabulary. Not secretive. Not distant. But filtered. Carefully curated for real life, not for consumption. That distinction matters. Because it reframes every assumption the public once made. What looked like absence now reads as boundary setting. What looked like silence now reads as intention. Timothée Chalamet's birthday remains the emotional anchor of this shift. It wasn't loud enough to dominate headlines indefinitely, but it was clear enough to disrupt a narrative built on doubt. In retrospect, that understated moment becomes pivotal, not because of what was displayed, but because of what followed. Nothing contradicted it. And in celebrity culture, contradiction is usually inevitable. As the months move forward, fan discourse begins to reflect this recalibration. The tone changes. The urgency softens. Theories give way to observation. Instead of asking what's missing, people start noticing what's consistent. And consistency, over time, becomes its own form of proof. The story deepens emotionally when viewed through that lens. Because what emerges is not a spectacle, but a partnership navigating pressure with restraint. Kylie Jenner and Timothée Chalamet do not appear to be negotiating public opinion. They appear to be prioritizing internal alignment. And that choice subtly shifts the power dynamic, From audience-driven narratives to self-defined reality, this is where the payoff quietly lands. Not in a single moment, but in accumulation. In how every uneventful week strengthens the credibility of what was implied during that birthday. In how the absence of drama becomes the loudest signal of all, the narrative no longer demands escalation. It resists it. There is no need for declarations, red carpets, or orchestrated visibility. The relationship, as it presents itself now, operates on a different frequency, one that values durability over display, and that frequency resonates. Especially in a cultural moment increasingly fatigued by oversharing. Kylie Jenner and Timothée Chalamet appear to be tapping into a shift that many sense but few successfully navigate, the move toward intentional privacy without disappearance. As the story continues, it does so without urgency. There is no countdown to revelation. No expectation of clarification. The relationship exists, and that existence is no longer fragile enough to require defense. Timothée Chalamet's birthday, once again, circles back, not as an isolated event, but as a turning point. The moment where speculation peaked and quietly lost its grip. The moment where presence replaced explanation.